Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show. Jason, welcome to the Principal Podcast. Happy to have you.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here today.
Let's jump straight into it then. What's the story? Jason, what got you to become the CEO of Mixmax AI?
I'm still asking myself that question every day. I've only been sitting in this seat proverbially for just a little over 2 months, and it's been a pretty crazy trajectory. I spent, I guess, like the real quick background on me, I spent a lot of years in nonprofit and in different types of nonprofit. And around the time I was 32 years old or so, 12 years ago, for those that are math majors, I decided that I was ready to try something else. I did not have many amazing skills. I was an English major who had been doing nonprofit work. So it was hard to say exactly how I was going to translate, but I wanted to see if I could grow in the business world. And so after a long time of trying to make the leap in all kinds of different ways, I was given an opportunity as a technical writer. And I, shout out Heather at Vonage in those days who gave me that opportunity. And from there, I was hungry to learn and grow, and people graciously gave me opportunities. And that led to product management. And product management was something that I had never even heard of a few years before. But as I learned a little bit about what product managers do at software companies, it's a divisive trade, product management. People feel sometimes very strongly passionate for it. A lot of people hate product managers. And I understand in some cases why that is. But for me, I was attracted to the idea, I was attracted to the concept. And I think the reason why is because I like a lot of people in the Southern United States, had an upbringing in the church. And the church exposed something in me because I was an introvert. I'm not an introvert. I'm an extrovert, only child, lived in the woods with grandparents. And I had a need. I didn't have a neighborhood to run around with and have friends. And so church was this outlet for me to test and express and all those things. And so I got attracted to speaking in front of people, or, doing skits in the youth group and all that kind of stuff. And what I learned about myself is that I enjoy the risk that you take when you're putting yourself out there. And you either sink or swim. They either laugh or they don't. It resonates or it doesn't. And ultimately, I got into this business because I saw something in product management was an opportunity to take the risk and to put my name on something, to take a bet. And it might work or it might not, but it's going to be interesting. And I took a job at CallRail, which is a marketing technology company, software, and as their first external product manager. And 9 years later, I left as the VP of product. And my time, it became time for a new challenge. And Mixmax had opened the door as their VP of product. Smaller company, similar but different in terms of platform and services, sales tech in a way, not MarTech, but similar. And getting in, figuring it out, new product, new domain, all the things that's exciting. And at the end of April, I got a call from our founder and CEO at the time, Olaf, and a board member. And I thought, gosh, I must be getting fired. And on the contrary, they asked if I was interested in taking over, at least on an interim basis, to see if it was the right fit. And here we are, almost 3 months later.
I like the origin story. What's the problem that you guys help solving exactly? What is it that you help people achieve with Mixmax AI?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're a founder of a new company, whether that's a professional services or a software company or anything, anywhere that you need leads. It's the problem of how do I jumpstart and scale my outreach? How do I do it quickly? How do I do it easily? How does this not become my whole life, is trying to just manage the back and forth of potential leads, who's interested, who's not, who do I engage with, who do I lean in with. There's no other software that gets you set up faster, easier than Mixmax to jumpstart that outreach. And that's what we do.
So I love this. Being slightly passionate, maybe obsessive about marketing and sales, I'm enjoying even more that how this conversation is shaping up. I like to talk about product services as, in benefits, not in features. So we get started fast, that's cool, but to achieve what, Jason? What do I get out of going faster in the setup of my outreach, process, team maybe? What does that help me achieve?
Speed to revenue, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's the name of the game. And I think for a lot of builders, whether they're starting a company or they're starting a sales team, starting a customer success team, ultimately everybody is measured by revenue, and that's the gateway to being able to get there faster. If you have the list, how do you get it out efficiently? How do you know the emails are going to land? It's not going to get blocked as spam forever. You need a tool that knows how to do that and understands the plumbing in the system, so that you are compliant, that you're not actually spamming people. You're reaching the people that should be the best fit or could be the best fit for your services. And if you do that in a way that is try to do it yourself, you're going to spend way more time fumbling through email than you are going to be making your beer taste better. If you open up Claude can do a lot of that really fast, but it can't make sure the emails actually get delivered and not be blocked for spam. If you go to an upstart provider that's like an AI spray and pray, you're not going to be able to scale. It's not going to scale because the plumbing's not there. It's not easy to build a platform like that. And so if you want to be able to get a list of viable leads and get your story, your connection, and the thing that you can do to make their day better faster, then you need a tool like Mixmax.
There are so many things I want to double down on here. I think this is true. So obviously this podcast, the principal podcast, main people listening, guests are within the professional service space. Not a lot of firms do cold outreach. Not a judgment, just the fact that this is how it is. Although they would have lots to gain from doing it, but that's a whole other conversation. But what we see them do a lot is creating content for LinkedIn. And I'm going somewhere with all these being, Claude can do it for sure, but it's also, don't forget that when there is hype and everybody's using the same tool, everybody sounds the same. Right. That is true for the LinkedIn outreach, and LinkedIn, and that is true for the cold outreach as well. So it's good to have AI-enabled processes, 100%, not saying the contrary. And you also want to sound unique. You want to personalize properly. You want to land in the mailbox in the first place. So absolutely love this. Who do you typically help, Jason? So Who is there a specific vertical, niche, industry, company size? Who uses Mixmax AI?
It's predominantly SaaS businesses, from startup to the biggest names that you know, and professional services firms. You know, insurance brokers and financial firms, and in some cases the real estate even. Um, it's a viable and growing vertical for us.
Why is that? Not is it growing, but why do specific industries in particular? Is it because outreach works particularly well for them? Like, what's the idea?
There's all kinds of different avenues in different use cases. Yeah. And I think in the professional services case, what happens for a lot of businesses as they grow is that they start looking for new ways to grow. And I'm going to give an example of I had lunch with a local guy I know that has bootstrapped a real estate brokerage firm. And they went through and knew that they had a big book of leads from years and years of selling houses residentially. And most of residential real estate is, hey, I need to sell a house, or I want to buy a house. Who do I know who's a real estate agent? It's extremely relationship driven business, as is a lot of, and I know real estate isn't necessarily exactly professional services by definition, but similarly, where like the human relationship and the trust is really high, really important, and it's a referral game, and that's traditionally how you grow. And you get in real estate, you get your face on the park bench or whatever. So what happens is they grow, and they've had years and years of leads that worked out or didn't, is that they realize that, man, I wonder if we could grow if we just went through our list and just see if they have any needs. And this is residential real estate. And they found out that if they made so many outreaches a week, that was going to produce X number of leads and then Y number of dollars. And so it was worth doing. The key to something like Mixmax is that when I say, how do you jumpstart and scale your outreach? It's not just making the outbound touch. And I have a lot of opinions about sales tools. That's a whole other way we could go down, which might be fun. But, what it really is about is who am I reaching out to actually needs my service? Who are the ones that I can actually help and make my case to and be responsive? And the only way you know that is through whatever signals you might get back from that potential lead. Like, did they open the email, right? Like, a non-marketing email. Did they open it? How many times have they opened it? Have they asked a question and did it get buried in my inbox? Are we waiting on a connection to some stakeholder that's fallen cold? And so you need not just the tools to do the outreach, you need the intelligence to understand where to engage and lean in. And if you don't have that part, then you are cut off midstream. You're flying blind, right? And you are probably spamming people because you're not able to lean into where you can actually really be that business partner or that advocate in whatever way that you could for that person that needs your service. So you need intelligence along with the ability to automate an outreach program.
Makes a lot of sense. To the $1 million question, Jason, or more even, what has worked for you and Mixmax AI to market brands? I'm not talking about sales just yet, but more so, what has worked for you to get in the rooms with head of sales, CRO, CEOs of those startups up to the biggest companies that we know, to get them aware of Mixmax AI, interested in Mixmax AI, and knocking at the door being like, hey, we want to find out more. What has worked for you beyond cold outreach, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, ironically, Mixmax is a business that it's been around a while. I think it's 12 years old, I believe, this year. Mixmax is not traditionally what you would think of as an enterprise grade platform in the look and feel and design. It was built to be a product led growth business, which means that it's easy to try, it's easy to buy, it's easy to set up, it's easy to understand the value, and you might never even talk to a salesperson. You might never even hear from a salesperson, but you've gone through the whole buying journey on your own, and that was a great experience. And Mixmax is that type of business, as is CallRail, where I came from previously. And what has worked through the course of time for Mixmax is the marketing is the product itself. And what almost the entire business was built on, and this is amazing to me, is just pure virality. Just pure, that looks cool. Or, hey, I have a problem. How can I solve it fast? I don't want to deal with this long sales cycle of getting a tool set up. And people saying, you need Mixmax. And, or maybe they got an email with the Mixmax logo on it, and they're like, hey, I need this too. And that's the entire way the business grew to, multi-million dollars of ARR is through that virality effect, to the point where some of those people, especially in sales or founders, they might not be doing the same thing in 6 months that they were before. But if there's a tool in their tool belt that they know is going to enable them, they're going to take it to the next place. So what happened is that eventually, somebody who might have started a company and it didn't work out goes to be a founding AE at some SaaS company you might know the name of today, and they take Mixmax, and then it grows within that team, and then it grows from there. And that has been the number one value driver. I think that there were times when the size of sales teams were blowing up, that bigger orgs just started coming to us because they wanted what other people had. And in those times, the fish were jumping in the boat, right? But it was all about the product, all about how easy it was to set up, and how easy it was to try and buy. And that has always been the key differentiator, and still is today. Now, when it comes to today, what works and what doesn't work, it's still very driven by that. But what's unique about Mixmax is that it's gone through kind of lots of different life cycles. And I don't think, to be totally candid with you, I don't think that our message in the marketplace right today is exactly what I think it's going to be in 6 weeks. Because I think as we understand better who we solve problems for, I think we're going to get a lot sharper in being able to make that connection of we're for you, and be differentiated, because we are differentiated from some of the bigger names, but their messages are all the same. We're a sales AI execution platform, AI native, blah, 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 blah. And it's all the same thing, and it's heartless and meaningless, and it's noise. And I don't want to participate in that. I want to tell the story to the people that I'm here to solve a problem for, how we solve that problem for you. And it sure isn't sales enablement execution AI native platform. I don't think that's it. I think that those things can be true, but I don't know how many people wake up every morning saying, gosh, you know what is my biggest problem is that word salad.
Amen to that. I mean, it's funny that you need to be extremely good at sales if you don't have marketing. I think it's from Naval Ravikant. You need to be very good at marketing if you don't have a good product. And if you have a good product, you don't need marketing and sales. Now, obviously, there is some nuances to that, right? If you want to accelerate growth, then you want to go to market strategy. But the best marketing will ever be people talking about your product after experimenting it. This is particularly true in SaaS indeed. How do you tie all this, Jason, to sales? Can you and maybe give us a bit of flavor for your experience with Mixmax AI, but also how you guys do it at Mixmax AI? How do you go from someone seeing a logo from an email being like, oh, I need the same, or someone being like, hey, I want to get started, but I don't want to spend 6 weeks in implementing and setting up domains and warming up and stuff like that, or you should use Mixmax? How do you go from all that to a conversation, a sales conversation, an SOW, letter of engagement, we rock and roll, or just people, subscribing and taking a membership? How does that work?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So much of it is people subscribing because they know what their problem is and they know that Mixmax can solve it, or someone's told them, and so they go and check it out and try. But when that's not necessarily the case, I think it's important to say this. We use our own product for all kinds of different use cases, like, just from a customer success perspective, or from a, certain campaigns that we run. But we're not a big outbound shop, just to be totally transparent with you. And that's by nature of the product that we have, not because, not every what's the phrase? Not every hammer needs a nail, or something like that. I don't know. It's like, for us, outbound is less efficient than having a product that people need. Now, how do we make it easy for when somebody does, signal, hey, I'm a high intent buyer. I really am interested. Can you solve this problem? Can you do it at scale for my unique needs and situations? Well, then that's where we engage sales, right? Because that is where sales can get into your unique situation, be curious about what the problems are and the obstacles to your growth, and say, hey, let's see if we can be your partner in growth. Let's see if our tools can help jumpstart revenue in a way that that you didn't have before. And I hate to be trite or corny, but I think that just comes down to the intelligence of knowing who is engaged, who does need a problem solved, and then being curious about how you can align yourself as their true partner, and not just somebody trying to make a quota.
It's funny because I often use that expression myself, which is, when you have a hammer, you tend to see all the problems as nails.
That's it.
But not all problems are nails. And I like that nuance as well. And it speaks volumes about the product as well, right? If you don't need to do that much marketing and sales, it means the product is good. Talk to me about retention then, and how can we translate, because all this, I want to tie this back to professional services as well. Ultimately, the best professional service firms grow from word of mouth, because every customer they get speaks volumes about how the quality of the service, and you get the next one. And potentially, as long as you get more than 1.1 new clients for each client you sign, you're growing. Now, obviously, back to how fast you want to grow, this is where you potentially want to plug in marketing and sales, brand building, and so on. Other topic. Talk me through the retention aspects of it. So people come in, convinced of the value, subscribe. How do you keep people on? How do you solve potentially the next problem and the next problem? Or how do you solve the same one but at bigger scales? How does retention work at Mixmax AI?
To me, I think it's having the ability and the desire to be that partner, and being aligned to what your goals are, which means that we are committed to meeting you where you are. That doesn't mean it's not the same thing as we're all things to all people, or we're going to build everything that we're asked for and dilute the value of the product. What it means is that whether you are a solopreneur or if you are Fortune 500, like, we are going to be there for you, and we are going to strive to provide truly amazing support, customer service, because our DNA is based around we exist to help you grow. It's the only way that we'll grow. And so that's the first thing, is I want to make sure that we're providing that experience. I also want to make sure that to the best of our ability, that they don't run into problems in the first place. And so that means if we might ship less features overall in comparison to, the big mega funded software companies, but we're going to be committed to what we ship is good, and what we ship works, and you can rely on it. And we miss the mark sometimes, but it's a touchstone of what the kind of business that I want to build if I'm going to be the CEO of this company that we stand around. And then I think beyond that, it gets into being proactive, whether you're small or large, making sure, hey, I want to make sure you get I want to make sure you're getting the most out of your dollars with our product. Let me help you know what we've come out with. Let me help you get set up. And I think in the most recent example of that is we have, just like everybody else, we have an MCP, and we haven't shouted it from the rooftops yet, but our MCP is truly really good. There are some aspects of it that we're the only ones that do this thing right now with an MCP. And I don't even want to say what they are, just in case anybody's listening. Come and get a trial. But we do those things really well. And so, we're taking the time to talk to customers where they say, here's how I do it. Here's how I set up my outreach. Here's how I monitor what's working, what's not. And we say, that's great. That's a good way to do it. That's the Mixmax way, right? If that's where you are. But we actually have the tools now to where you can do all of that at superhuman ability. Have you ever used an MCP, right? And a lot of them haven't. And you see, when you show them just a little bit of what's possible via amazing technology enabled by AI, you start to see eyes light up, and oh my God, I did not know that I didn't know that it really worked. I didn't know it could work for me like that. And having all of that information about your business and what's working, what's not, and where to engage and where not to, and let me create a campaign on the fly, merge it, in concert with, my HubSpot data or whatever, is remarkable to people. And the vast majority of the population has not had that experience yet. And so we want to be proactive in being the guide in that story, to take them on that journey, and ultimately taking them on the journey where we're the guide, showing them the way, but they're the ones enabled to be the hero in the story.
I like your vibe. Which means, so just for context and for people listening to us who might not know, can you define what MCP is, Jason? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's basically what you would think of as an integration previously. Like if you buy one software tool and you click so that your data flows from, Mixmax to Salesforce and back, Think about that, but it's all working. It's all working together, using natural language, and so much more powerfully, much more with much more nimbleness to do exactly what you want between all of these providers, and ultimately, leveraging natural language to say, this is my problem, using the data, using the information and the tools that we have via these different systems. Please now go and create XYZ. And that, if you go in, if you're using Claude and Claude or ChatGPT, you go in and you'll see something like connectors, and you connect different services like your Gmail and your calendar and whatever, and then now those become tools of which an AI agent or chat bot can use to do the job that you're asking them to do.
As I said, I like your style. So I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball question at you now, Jason.
Okay.
What's your number one challenge right now? What is the one nut that you guys are trying to crack that, once you crack, you take the whole thing to the next level? What would that be for you?
I'm going to give the answer that's the true answer, and not necessarily what you'd expect me to say.
Now we are all ears.
I took, as soon as I became the CEO, the first thing that I realized was that I need to get a key group of people together to figure out how are we going to move forward. In all transparency, Mixmax's growth over the years, in some way, has decelerated, and I wanted to understand why. What is it? Why is it decelerating? You actually said something interesting earlier. You said if you have a great product, you don't need marketing. If you have great sales, you don't need marketing. All this kind of the combination. Well, if you have one of them and it works, it's only going to work for so long on its own. And the tricky thing about growth is it's you're measured on percentages against your base, which means to maintain a high percentage, it gets harder and harder as you grow. It's the fun of math. And therefore you need more tools. You need more columns to support the building. And Mixmax, the product itself, has done all of the heavy lifting. And I think that there was a time when said the fish were jumping in the boat, and so we could have much more of a stronger sales-led motion. But in truth, I don't believe that Mixmax has yet actually done the critical work of building the great marketing and the great sales muscles, which is just purely all it is saying, hey, we solve your problem. You just don't know it yet, right? You just don't know that we're here to solve that problem. And so when I got this group together, I got everybody together in Prague, and we laid out the whole business end to end, of like, let's just look at how this is working or not working and see what comes up. And I always say, I love the phrase, sunshine is the best disinfectant, right? So let's shine a light on this and see what we get to. And what came out of that was very clear to me that the number one challenge of the business is that it's been made overly complex. We've made it overly complex to bring a customer through a buying journey. We've made it overly complex in terms of, all the things that we're measuring and looking at, and the models that are powering, how somebody gets commissions and all this stuff. It's like, we've got to simplify. We've got to get back to first principles. I'm an English major. I didn't get a business degree. But it's like, we've got levers that we need to pull, and we need to act with urgency to do that. Because if, again, it's a great product, people still buy it constantly, but they buy it because of the virality effect, of the spoken word effect. That can only take you so far for so long, without other systems in place to kind of help buttress. And I just think that the story hasn't been told. And when you are in a situation where, we talk a lot about how hard it is to go from 0 to 1. It's much harder to go from -1 to 1, because you've got to turn the entire momentum that might be moving in one direction in the opposite direction, right? It's not just an object in motion stays in motion. It's like you've got to bring the train down and then slowly get it shifting in the direction you want. And again, because Mixmax is great, and we have a really good team, by the way. This is a huge shout out to Olaf, who was extremely persnickety in hiring. And he held the bar really high to hire some really, really great people. And we're not that far off, right? We're not that far off in terms of where I really would like to be in terms of momentum, but we have to simplify, we have to focus, we have to work with urgency. And so I would say that that's a long, long way to saying the number one challenge of the business is that there's been this, a long time of negative momentum. We've got to find a way to shift it positively. And that is telling the story of how our product solves a problem really well.
Jason Tatum, ladies and gentlemen. Jason, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, and or Mixmax AI, where should they go?
Yeah, Mixmax.ai. Get a free trial. Tell them Tatum sent you. I'm on LinkedIn. Jason Tatum, or Jason J Tatum, I think is the handle. So I'm there, and we'd love to chat if you're interested.
We'll put all the links in the description. I can say one thing for sure, Jason, is that you've gained at least one new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview. We are now connected. Jason, thank you so much for coming on the Principal Podcast.
I am so honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.